All right, this next video, we are going to change gears a little bit and talk about how DNA helps to create proteins, which code for our traits. But before we're going to back it up and talk a little bit more about DNA. So if you remember, DNA is an example of a nucleic acid. Na for nucleic acid, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, DNA is found in the cells of our body. There are two different forms of DNA that we're going to talk about. Number one is the decondensed form of DNA. So the opposite of condensed is decondensed. So it's this big mess that looks like spaghetti. The other form that you guys have probably heard of before is known as a chromosome. This is a condensed form of DNA, which we find in every single cell in our body. So if you've ever heard of anything like 23andMe, that's referring to the fact that we usually as humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes in every single cell in our body with the same DNA. And this chromosome kind of looks like an X here. So we're going to keep talking about the chromosome. Again, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes found in every cell in our body with the same DNA. So if you're looking at this picture, you will see another picture of a chromosome. On the chromosome, we have a little section which is called a gene. That gene is a small segment or sequence of DNA that is found on the chromosome that codes specifically for a specific protein. That protein can have anything to do with how you look, how your body works, how you digest things, if you have asthma, how bushy your eyebrows are. This all comes from these small segments or sequences of DNA called genes that code for very specific proteins. And here we're just going to go again. All cells contain genetic information in the form of DNA, as we know, in pairs called chromosomes. Genes are the regions in the DNA that contain these instructions that help to code for the production of proteins. And again, you'll see another picture. This is another different picture of a chromosome. And the small segment, which again is a gene, which codes for our proteins. And remember, these chromosomes are found in the cells that make up our body, every cell. All right, so this next thing that we're looking at is the central idea or the central dogma of biology. Remember, biology means the study of living things. So this is how all living organisms originate. We start off with the smallest unit, which is nucleotides. Nucleotides, remember, are our monomers for nucleic acids. So first we have our nucleotides that contain our DNA sequences, our nitrogen bases with those letters A, T, C, G, and U. Those nucleotides combine to form our DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, which then gets converted or transcribed into RNA, which is ribonucleic acid. After this, it gets translated into something called an amino acid, which you know is the monomer for a protein. So eventually those amino acids come together and fold in a certain way to create a protein. We call this protein synthesis. This is how everything in our body is built. So the directions that are in our nucleic acids or DNA code for the amino acids that will be used to build our protein. So I really like this analogy. So think about it. I'm a teacher, you're the students. I'm the teacher, so I'm just like the nucleic acids where I store all the information, I have all the instructions, which I give to you, my students. As students, you're like the proteins. You do all of the work. You write everything down, you study, study, study.